In last class, we studied about downlink control channels, which includes DCI, downlink control information, CFI, control format indicator, and HARQ indicator, HI. And then we see how these are mapped to different physical channels and different DCI formats. There are 10 different DCI formats, and what are the bits indicate in this DCI format 0 and 1, and how to transmit this DCI, and then similarly CFI and HI. And for downlink control channels, only open loop transmit diversity is supported. And then we see broadcast channel, how it is transmitted, what is the encoder used, what is modulation technique that is used, whether it supports MIMO or not, whether it supports HARQ or not. Similarly for multicast channel, how it is work and whether it supports MIMO or not, etc. And then we were on downlink physical signals, which includes downlink reference signals and synchronization. I think we were on somewhere in this slide when my laptop was switched off. So we'll start from downlink reference signals. Downlink reference symbols consist of non-reference symbols that are intended for downlink channel estimation at the UE needed to perform coherent demodulation. These are used in two ways. First one is their immediate role is to give the mobile an amplitude and phase reference for using channel estimation. Later on, mobile will use them to measure the received signal power as a function of frequency and to calculate channel quality indicator. And there are three different types of reference signals: cell-specific reference signals, MV-SFN reference signals, and UE-specific reference signals. These are the cell-specific reference signals, which are transmitted in all downlink subframes in a cell supporting on MV-SFN transmission. In the subframe used for transmission with MV-SFN, only first two OFDM symbols can be used for cell-specific reference symbol. Cell-specific reference signals are defined only for normal subcarrier spacing of 15 kilohertz. This is our normal subcarrier spacing in LTE. In time domain, for antenna port belong to 0 and 1, the reference symbols are inserted within first and third last OFDM symbols in each block. Port number 0 and 1, and in 0 and 1 port number, where we can insert the reference symbol in the first and third last OFDM symbol. So you see here, this is your antenna port 0, this is for antenna port 0, this is for antenna port 1, and one small this square, this box represent a resource block. This resource element, and this one big square represent a resource block. And the resource element which is crossed, which is in gray color, it is not used. And where R is written, that is your used for reference signals. Where R is written, that is used for reference signal. So for port 0 and 1, it should be inserted within first and third last OFDM symbol. So you see first for port 0, this is your slot 1. So where it is inserted? In first one. Here it is inserted in third last, first, third last. Similarly for port 1, it is inserted here for third last, here for first. Okay. For port, antenna port belongs to 0, 1, inserted within first and third last. For antenna port belongs to 2 and 3, reference symbols are inserted only in the second OFDM symbol. You see in antenna port 2, this is antenna port 2, where are the reference symbols inserted? In the second OFDM symbol. Second OFDM symbol. Okay. And similarly for antenna port 3, these are also inserted only in the second OFDM symbol. In frequency domain, the spacing between neighboring reference symbols in the same OFDM symbol is 5 subcarriers. That is, reference symbols are transmitted every 6th subcarrier. While one antenna is transmitting a reference signal, all others stay silent in the manner required for spatial multiplexing. Okay. So while one antenna is transmitting a cell-specific reference signal, because it is a cell-specific, it means it will transmit by one that particular antenna. At that time, all other antenna will stay silent. Next is MBSFN reference signals. MBSFN reference signals. So who can tell me the full form of MBSFN? We have seen this in last lecture. MBSFN. Anybody? Anybody speak? Tell me. Nobody knows. Okay. Good. MBSFN reference signals are only transmitted in subframe allocated for MBSFN transmission, which is only defined for extended CP. Okay. If you remember, MBSFN works only for extended CP and transmitted on antenna port 4, only on antenna port 4. And in time domain, there are different slots for even number. There are different of them number transmitted on different of them symbols for even number slot and odd number slot, and also different for our subcarrier spacing. So in time domain, for even number slot, reference symbols are inserted in third OFDM symbol for delta f of 15 kilohertz. Okay. So this is your delta f of 15 kilohertz for even number slot in the third OFDM symbol. Okay, you can see here it is in the third OFDM symbol for even number slot. And in the second OFDM symbol for delta f of 7.5 kilohertz. For odd number slot, the reference symbol are inserted in the first and fifth OFDM symbols for delta f of 15 kilohertz. This is for your odd number slot with delta 15 kilohertz. You can see it is in first and fifth OFDM symbol. In frequency domain, the reference symbols are transmitted every 2 subcarriers for delta f is equal to 15 kilohertz and after every 4 subcarriers for delta f of 7.5 kilohertz. In frequency domain, density of MBSFN signals are 3 times higher than that of cell-specific signals. The density of MBSFN signal is 3 times higher than cell-specific signal. Third one is UE, user equipment specific reference signals. UE specific reference signal supports single antenna port transmission with beamforming on physical downlink shared channel and transmitted on antenna port 5. Antenna port 5. So you have to remember on which antenna ports they are transmitting to. Here it is 0, 1, 2, 3 for cell specific. For MBSFN it is port 4 and for UE specific it is port 5. They are transmitted only on resource block upon which the corresponding physical downlink share channel is mapped. The UE specific signals are not transmitted in resource element in which one of the other physical signal or physical channel is transmitted. Okay. In the even number slot, the reference symbols are inserted in the 4th and 7th OFDM symbol. So you will see here, this is for even number slot. You can see reference symbols are inserted in 4, 7, 4, 7. And in odd number slot, the reference symbols are inserted in the 3rd and 6th OFDM symbols. And this is your odd number slot. You can see reference symbol in the 3rd, 6th, 3rd, 6th. So this is your user specific reference signals. Next in same download physical signals, there are second type is synchronization signals. And in synchronization signal, we have 3 types: physical cell identity and primary and secondary synchronization signal. First we'll see what is physical cell identity. The physical cell identity is a number between 0 to 503, which is transmitted on the synchronization signals and used in 3 ways. First, it determines the exact set of resource elements that are used for the cell-specific reference signals. Okay, it will determine exact set of source element used for cell-specific reference signals and the PCFI CH. So, like in cell-specific, which resource element, it is small box. Which resource element it is using? That can be detected using physical cell identity. Second, it influences a downlink transmission process known as scrambling in a bid to minimize interference between nearby cells. Thirdly, it identifies individual cells during RRC procedure such as measurement, reporting, and handover. The physical cell identity is assigned during network planning or cell configuration. It is assigned during the network planning and or cell configuration. Nearby cells should always receive different physical cell identities to ensure that each of these roles is properly fulfilled. This is how it is represented. It would be hard for a mobile to find out a physical cell identities in one step, so they are organized into cell identity groups. Cell identity groups follows as n id cell is equal to 3 n id 1 plus n id 2. What is n id cell? This is the physical cell identity. Physical cell identity. What is NID1? It is a cell identity group. Cell identity group, and which runs from 0 to 167. Then what is NID2? It is a cell identity within the group. This is cell identity group, and this is cell identity within the group, and it will run from 0 to 2. It will run from 0 to 2. So that this N cell identity will run from 0 to 503. Okay. Using this arrangement, a network planner can give such nearby base station a different cell identity group and can distinguish its sector using the cell identity within the group. You understand this statement? If you remember the cell structure, we have hexagonal cell structure, and in that cell structure we can have 3 sectors, 4 sectors, like that, 3 sectors, 6 sectors. So what it will do? For 3 sector arrangement, let's say it has given 0 identity as to a base station, 0 identity to a base station cell. Then to 3 different sector, it can give 3 identity 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2. Okay. So this is how it works. It will give this identity from 0 to 167 to the cell, base station cell, and then 0 to 2 to the sectors inside that cell. Primary and secondary synchronization signals. Primary synchronization signals identify the symbol timings and cell ID index NID2. It will identify NID2. And secondary synchronization is used for detecting the cell ID index 1, NID1, and the frame timings. Okay. Primary is used to identify the symbol timing. Secondary is used to identify the frame timing. Primary is used to find the cell index 2 NID2. Secondary is used to find the cell index 1 NID1. The signals from both transmitted twice per frame. Twice per frame. Both signals are transmitted on 62 subcarriers centered around DC subcarrier with 5 reserved subcarrier on either side in the frequency domain. So there are total 72 subcarriers occupied by synchronization signals. In time domain, both signals are transmitted twice per 10 millisecond in predefined slots. In time domain, both signals are transmitted twice per 10 millisecond in predefined slots. For frame structure type 1, both signals are mapped to the last and second to the last OFDM symbols in slot 0 and 10. You see here, P is for your primaries. Wherever P is written, that is for primary synchronization signal. S is written, secondary synchronization. So for type 1, this is for type 1. For type 1, this is what they are saying. For type 1, both signals are mapped to the last and second last OFDM symbol in slot 0 and 10. This is your slot 0. In slot 0, it is mapped to the last and second last. Last is primary, second last is secondary. Similarly, for slot 10, this is your slot 10. In this slot 10, it is mapped to last is primary and second last is secondary. For frame structure type 1, both signals are mapped to the last and second to the last OFDM symbols in slot 0 and 10. For frame structure type 2, primary synchronization is mapped to third OFDM symbol in slot 2 and 12. And secondary synchronization signal is mapped to last OFDM symbol in slot 1 and 11. So we will see here, this is your frame structure type 2. In frame structure type 2, primary is mapped to last symbol of slot 1. You can see slot 1 and slot 11. Slot 1 and slot 11. And secondary is mapped, secondary is mapped to slot 1 and 11. Primary is mapped to slot 2 and 12. So this is your slot 2. In this slot 2, it is mapped to third OFDM symbol. In slot 2, third OFDM symbol mapped to primary. Similarly, in 12, third OFDM symbol is mapped to primary. And for secondary, slot 1 and 11. In slot 1, last is mapped to secondary synchronization. And similarly, in slot 11, last is mapped to secondary synchronization signal. Okay. Difference in the location of synchronization signal enable the UE to detect the duplex mode of the cell. And the last topic of your module 3 I have kept as a homework for you, which is hybrid ARQ in the downlink. So here we completed our module 3. We'll just see what we have studied in this module. So starting of this module was very much similar to your first module, in which we have introduction to LTE, and then the next topic was channel structure in LTE, in which we see different type of channels: logical channels, transport channels, physical channels, and uplink and downlink channels in all these three types of channels. Then how the radio resource is mapped, resource block, resource element, all these things. And similarly for uplink radio resource. Okay. And from last 2 weeks we have studied this downlink transport channel processing, then which includes transport channel processing overview, downlink share channel, downlink control channels, broadcast channels, multicast channels, downlink physical channels, and these control channels include DCI, CFI, HI, and this downlink physical channel includes reference signals and synchronization signals, and HARQ on downlink. So this is your chapter number 6 and 7 for module 3. Okay. Now we move to module 4. This is your module 4. The second part of module 3 was downlink channels. The first part of module 4 is your uplink channels. Okay. First is similar to downlink in module 3. We have first overview of uplink transport channel processing, then uplink share channel, then uplink control information. Similar to downlink control information, here uplink control information, and then uplink reference signal, and random access channel, which is not there in downlink, and hybrid ARQ on uplink. And if you note, broadcast and multicast channels are not there in uplink. Okay, so we'll try to finish this part this week, today and tomorrow. Uplink transport channel processing overview. So as I told, most of the things are, the names of the topics are similar to module 3 for downlink, which we have studied in module 3 for downlink channels. But the major difference between downlink and uplink in LTE is the difference in the transmission and multi-access scheme, and different type of channels and control information. Okay, we have downlink channels, we have uplink channels, we have, but both have different channels. Similarly, there we have DCI and CFI control information. Here we have different control information. And multiple accessing, there we have OFDMA. Here we have in uplink, what we use SCFDMA. Okay. So this OFDMA, SCFDMA, that is the major difference between uplink and downlink. And this uplink, as we know, uplink is based on SCFDMA due to its low peak to average ratio as compared to OFDMA, and it is a less complex transmitter structure as compared to OFDMA. These are, and there are some similarities also between downlink and uplink transport channels. For example, the channel coding processing is applied on both downlink and uplink shared channel, and time frequency structure of uplink resource block is similar to that of downlink. Resource block structure, if you remember, resource block, resource element, how many resource elements are there, that depends on the sub-carrier frequency, etc. So that is similar for downlink and uplink. Similarly, channel coding processing. Channel coding processing is similar for downlink and uplink. So first we will see. This is the complete your block diagram for uplink transport channel processing, and which is very much similar to downlink. Similar to downlink, it is divided into two distinct steps: channel coding, this top one, channel coding processing, and modulation processing, this one. So I have just kept this similar block diagram for downlink also, so that you can easily compare both of them. So if you see channel coding processing, both are similar. There is no difference between two. Okay. Only difference between two is that it is not visible with this image. Is that the uplink? In uplink, spatial multiplexing is not supported. So data streams from MAC layer are presented to the encoding unit only one transport block every frame. So this transport block which are coming to this channel coding processing is, in case of uplink, it is only one transport block every subframe. And if you see modulation processing, you will see some differences, right? Here it is only one code word is coming, here multiple code words are coming. Then scrambling and modulation mapper is same. But here layer mapper and precoding is there, it is not there in layer mapper and precoding. Additional thing is DFT based precoding. DFT based precoding, it is not there. Then resource mapping and SCFDMA signal generation, whereas in downlink we have OFDM signal generation. Okay. So modulation processing is little bit different from the downlink modulation processing. First is channel coding processing. Channel coding processing. The channel coding processing in uplink is very much similar to the downlink. That includes CRC addition, this one, then code block segmentation, channel coding, rate matching, and code block concatenation. These are similar steps. So if you remember how this figure I have taken from your previous chapter, but the same figure can be used there as well. So this is your transport block which we received by channel coding processing unit. Then it added CRC here, it added CRC code, and then using code block segmentation, it divided into multiple codes and added CRC further if required to the each code. So now we have code block 1 to code block C. Okay, this transport block is divided into code blocks. Now channel coding using turbo encoder. Channel coding using turbo encoder. Using channel coding, we have now coded. Now it is coded block 1. It was previously we said as code block 1. Now it is coded block 1 to coded block C. Now rate matching and then code block concatenation. So this is your complete channel coding processing. Channel coding processing. Okay. And this table is for usage of channel coding scheme and coding rate for uplink transport channel. Channel coding scheme and coding rate for uplink transport channel. So they use turbo coding, and that is 1/3. Okay, transport channel, uplink shared channel. Similarly, for coding scheme for and rate for uplink control information. Uplink control information UCI. So there are two different coding schemes: block coding, in which coding rate is variable; another is tail beating convolutional coding, in which rate is 1/3. Okay. For control information, the channel coding scheme. For control information, this channel coding scheme depends on the type of control information and also on the type of physical channel that carries the control information. Okay. And this control information can be mapped either to physical uplink shared channel or the physical uplink control channel. Okay, so this is your channel coding processing. Channel coding processing. You just have to remember these 5 steps, which is common. These 5 steps you have to remember, which is common. CRC addition, code block segmentation, channel coding, rate matching, and code block concatenation. Then modulation processing. Modulation processing. Okay. For the modulation in the uplink, the various steps such as scrambling and modulation mapping are done in the same way as in the downlink. The first 2 steps, scrambling and modulation mapping, are done in the same way in the downlink. But unlike downlink, in uplink, a user-specific scrambling is applied in order to randomize the interference. Also, since spatial multiplexing is not supported in the uplink, there is no layer mapping or MIMO precoding. You just go back and see it. Okay. Imagine it's layer mapping and precoding, MIMO precoding. This is not here in uplink because it doesn't support spatial multiplexing. The main difference between the downlink comes from the nature of SCFDMA based transmission, which is different from OFDMA based transmission that is used in the downlink. Okay. And the generation of FDMA based signal is explained in this figure. So what is extra here? DFT based processing. Extra means if we compare with the if we compare this with the downlink one, so what is the extra thing here? DFT based processing. There we have only resource mapping, IFFT, and parallel to serial numbering. Here we have DFT based processing, resource mapping, IFFT, and PES, parallel to serial conversion. First, DFT based processing is applied to the block of complex valued modulation symbols, which transform the time domain signal to the frequency domain. Time domain to frequency domain. You see here, this is input to the DFT, which is time domain, output is frequency domain. In LTE, DFT size is constrained to the products of integer 2, 3, and 4, which is a trade-off between complexity of implementation and the flexibility in the assigned bandwidth. The DFT size is also depends on the number of resource blocks assigned to each. The size of DFT is restricted to multiple of 2, 3, and 4, just to keep the simplicity of the whole structure. Then the output of this DFT based precoder is mapped to the resource block, map to the resource block using resource mapping, and that have been allocated for the transmission of resource transport block. Okay. And then after IFFT, it is again converted to time domain, and after parallel to serial conversion, our complex value SCFDMA baseband signal is ready. SCFDMA baseband signal is ready. Okay. So this is your downlink, uplink transport channel modulation processing. Okay. So in this whole lecture, especially for module 2, I have used like the term similar to downlink, thing is similar to downlink. So in exam, you don't have to write everywhere similar to downlink. You have to actually explain what is there. In book, it is not explained again because they have already explained in previous chapter. But in exam, you have to write why it is similar to downlink, what is there. Okay. Next is uplink shared channel. Uplink shared channel. In uplink shared channel is the only transport channel that carries traffic data. It can also be used to transfer control signals for higher layers. In the uplink, ULSCH uplink shared channel is the only transport channel that carries traffic data. Okay. And this figure shows the mapping around ULSCH, mapping around uplink shared channel. You can see this uplink shared channel mapped to CCCH, common control channel, dedicated control channel, dedicated traffic channels from logical channels, and physical uplink shared channel or from physical channels. Uplink shared channel mapped to, or you can say from logical channel CCH, CCCH, DCCH, and DTCH are mapped to uplink shared channel, and uplink shared channel is mapped to physical uplink shared channel. Okay, this is your mapping for uplink shared channel. Now channel coding and modulation processing. So similar to previous module 3, we explained channel coding and modulation processing for all type of different shared channel, control channels, broadcast channel, multicast channel. Same thing we will do here. So first we told overview of transport channel and with channel processing and a modulation scheme is used. Now this is for uplink shared channel. In uplink shared channel, the channel coding scheme for data streams on uplink shared channel is same as that for downlink shared channel. A rate 1/3 turbo encoder is used to encode the transport block. Rate 1/3 turbo encoder is used to encode the transport block. Effective codes rates other than 1/3 are achieved by either puncturing or repetition of encoding bits, which depends on the transport size block and modulation scheme and the assigned radio resource. Okay. The encoded symbols are scrambled prior to modulation, which is done to randomize the interference. Instead of using cell-specific scrambling as in downlink, a user-specific scrambling is applied. Okay. Instead of cell-specific, which you use in downlink, in uplink it is user-specific. Uplink means from user equipment to base station. So it is a user-specific scrambling. Uplink shared channel is mapped to physical uplink shared channel, which supports QPSK, 16 QAM, and 64 QAM modulation scheme. The QPSK and 16 QAM modulation schemes are mandatory, and support for 64 QAM is optional, which depends on the user equipment capabilities. So for uplink shared channel, which encoder we use, Bachika coding scheme, it is 1/3 rate turbo encoder, and modulation scheme QPSK 16 QAM and optionally 64 QAM. The modulation, order, and redundancy version of channel coding of HARP protocol are contained in a 5-bit field, which is known as modulation and coding scheme and redundancy version. Modulation and coding scheme and redundancy version field IMCS in the downlink control information carried on physical downlink control channel with format 0. Okay. The modulation order and redundancy version is carried in downlink control information DCI, which is carried on PDCCH with format 0. Next is frequency hopping. Frequency hopping. LP supports frequency hopping on physical uplink shared channel. Physical uplink shared channel, which provides additional frequency diversity gain in the uplink. Frequency hopping also provides the interference averaging when system is not 100% loaded. When system is not 100% loaded. In LTE, both intra-subframe and inter-subframe frequency hopping is supported. So you see here there are two types of frequency hopping which is supported: intra-subframe and inter-subframe. So in this figure, this is intra-subframe is explained, and in this figure, inter-subframe is explained. In intra-subframe hopping, the user equipment hops to another frequency allocation from one slot to another within the same subframe. From one slot to another within the same subframe. Higher layers determine if the hopping is inter-subframe or intra-subframe. Okay. In inter-subframe hopping, the frequency resource allocation changes from one subframe to another. Okay. I will repeat this statement. It is little complete confusing. In intra-subframe hopping, the user equipment hops to another frequency allocation from one slot to another within the same subframe. This is your intra-subframe hopping. And in inter-subframe hopping, the frequency resource allocation changes from one subframe to another. Intra-subframe means frequency changes within the same frame. Inter-subframe means frequency hopping, frequency changes to the another subframe. And higher layers determine if the hopping is inter-subframe or intra and inter-subframe. It is inter-subframe or both, inter and intra. In general, intra-subframe hopping provides higher frequency diversity gain, since this gain can be expected over a single HARP transmission, which always spans only one subframe. If single bit frequency hopping FH field in the corresponding PDCCH with DCI format 0 is set to 1, the UE shall perform PUSCH frequency hopping. UE shall perform PUSCH frequency hopping. So I will show you where is this frequency hopping field. Module 3. So this is your DCI format, but is written over here. If the frequency hopping field in corresponding PDCCH with DCI format 0 is set to 1, this is your DCI format 0 and this is your hopping flag. If it is set to 1, indicates whether PUSCH frequency hopping is performed. Okay. So if this single bit frequency hopping field, this one is set to 1, the UE shall perform PUSCH frequency hopping. Otherwise, no frequency hopping is performed. Okay. You understand? In DCI format 0, this second bit, which is known as hopping flag, will tell you whether frequency hopping to perform or not. No frequency hopping. First case, no frequency hopping. If the uplink frequency hopping is disabled, FH is 0, the set of physical resource block is to be used for transmission is given by NPRB is equal to NBRB. Anybody remember what is PRB and BRB here? Virtual resource block and physical resource block. Where NBRB is virtual resource block index obtained from uplink scheduling ground. Frequency hopping. If uplink frequency hopping is enabled, FH is equal to 1. There are two frequency types of hopping types. Type 1 hopping uses an explicit offset in the second slot, determined by parameters in the DCI format 0. In type 2 hopping, the set of physical resource blocks to be used for transmission is given by scheduling grant together with the predefined hopping pattern. The UE first determine the allocated resource block after applying all the frequency hopping rules, and then data is mapped onto these resources, and data is mapped into this. So we'll just revise. This is your uplink channel coding processing and modulation processing. Uplink transport channel processing. How it is different from downlink? Channel coding processing is similar to downlink, only modulation processing is different from the downlink. Channel coding processing has 5 steps: transport block added with CRC attachments, then code block segmentation, channel coding, rate matching, and code block concatenation. And after code block concatenation, this signal is transmitted to forwarded to modulation processing. And which coding scheme use for uplink shared channel? It is turbo coding with the rate of 1 by 3. For information signals, UCI uplink control information, block coding with variable rate, and tail bitting convolutional coding with rate of 1 by 3. Then modulation processing, scrambling and modulation mapper is similar to downlink, only difference is user specific scrambling is added. Then there is no layer mapping and precoding, MIMO precoding in uplink because it doesn't support spatial multiplexing. Then using this DFT precoding resource mapping SCFTMA signal processing, we generate our SCFTMA baseband signal. DFT processing, then resource mapping, then IFFT, and then adding a cyclic preface, then parallel to slave conversion, and our final SCFTMA signal is ready. Then uplink shared channel, how it is linked. Uplink shared channel, how it is mapped with the logical channel and physical channel. Common control channel, dedicated control channel, dedicated traffic channel is mapped to uplink shared channel, which is mapped to physical uplink shared channel. It uses 1 by 3 rate turbo encoder and modulation scheme QPSK, 16 QMSK, 16 QAM, which is mandatory, and 64 QAM, which is optional, depends on the UE capability. And then frequency hopping, interframe or intraframe, interframe. And then how we will know whether frequency hopping is happening or not? It will tell by DCI format 0, in which second bit is frequency hopping flag. Frequency hopping flag. If it is a 1, it means frequency hopping is there. If it is a 0, it means no frequency hopping. Okay. We'll stop here. I think you people will be having a nice class. So you can type your attendance in the chat box. And if anybody is having any problem, can ask. You people might have seen circular regarding your internal exam. So second internal exam dates are there, and it is a descriptive type. So prepare well. Your syllabus will be complete module 3 and module 4 for second internal exam. Complete module 3 and module 4. I think it is on 28 or 29 May. Something. Okay, those who have typed the attendance, if they want, they can leave the meeting. Thank you very much. So if everyone has typed the attendance, we will close this meeting. Please type fast if you have not typed.